Have you always wanted to be a lawyer? Have you considered going to law school? Have you actually filled out your law school applications and haven't submitted them yet? If any of those questions apply to you, stick around. I'm going to answer all of those questions and probably give you some more information that you hadn't even thought about. So stay tuned. So before we get to it, just so you guys know, I am an attorney licensed in the state of Texas, but this video is solely for entertainment purposes only. This is not me providing legal advice to you. There is no establishment of the attorney-client relationship. This is solely for entertainment purposes. Okay, so first things first, not all lawyers make the same amount of money, and law isn't always as glamorized as you see on TV. So that's why you need to consider when you go to law school, the type of law that you want to practice. Does that coincide with the actual amount of money that you expect to make as a lawyer? And I'll just give criminal law as an example. If you are really interested in criminal law and maybe one of your dreams is to work for your local county DA's, district attorney's office, or maybe you want to work for the public defender's office, you have to recognize that you're going to be going into the public sector. And most public sector jobs aren't as lucrative as if you were to go into the private sector to work like for a firm, a private firm. So just know that the span of money that you can make for lawyers can be on the really, really low end, and you also have your millionaire lawyers. You just really have to know what type of area you want to practice and make sure that you do what is necessary in that area to make the type of money that you are content with. Another question that I get asked a lot is, how much work does law school really take and how hard is law school? I'm not gonna lie and say that law school is super easy. It is hard, but you have to understand why it's hard. I think conceptually, the things that you learn in law school and the things that law school teaches you, it's not hard. They're easy concepts when you isolate the concepts. The problem with law school is that it's a voluminous amount of information. It's a lot to take in all at the same time. And so I think that's where people get really lost, and unfortunately the people who don't do well in school, it's because they don't know how to be disciplined and how to take such a voluminous amount of information and synthesize it, condense it, and to put it in a way where you can easily memorize it. And so that's the hard part about law school. If you can work smarter, not harder, and you learn how to synthesize information, you'll do really well. Which leads me to another point about law school. I don't know if many people who are considering law school realize truly how much reading and writing you do. I think writing is an essential component of being a lawyer, especially if you're going to be a litigator. Most of your arguments in court are won on paper, actually, on motions before the court that are written. And so you need to be able to write well. You need to be able to read, again, voluminous amounts of information, because you're going to be using case law to support your motions. You need to advocate effectively on paper, but you also need to be able to advocate effectively orally, because on the occasion where your motion can't be decided by a judge on paper, they're going to ask you to come into court and you're going to be able to need to effectively argue your motion in person. So reading, law school is heavy on the reading and the writing. So if you hate to read and you hate to write, law school's probably not for you. Law school doesn't really prepare you for the actual practice of law, unfortunately. I would compare this to your LSAT. So the LSAT stands for Law School Admissions Test. So the LSAT is a test that you actually have to take in order to get into law school. If you know anything about the LSAT, it's nothing law related at all. So you take this test that has nothing to do with law to get you into law school, and then you go to law school and you learn a lot of law, but when you get out of law school and you're a baby lawyer, you literally don't know what you're doing. Like, you literally don't know what you're doing. Like, procedure-wise, you don't know logistically when you go into court, whether you're in federal court, whether you're in state court. What do? Who do you talk to? When the judge calls you, do you approach the well, which is actually the area in the courtroom where lawyers are allowed to be? Like, Can you go into the well when you walk into court? Do you have to sit where everybody else sits? Motion practice, like how do you file a motion? Does your county allow you to electronically file? If you're in state court or federal court, if you're an immigration attorney, sometimes they don't have even electronic filing. You have to go down to the courthouse and actually file a paper copy. Like law school teaches you none of that. So you have a lot of knowledge in your head that you've, memorized for 3 years, but literally when you become a lawyer, you really don't know what to do with that knowledge. And that's why I say law school doesn't necessarily prepare you for the actual practice of law. To better prepare yourself, I would say, for when you actually pass the bar and become an attorney is to intern. If you are fortunate enough to spend your summers or even time in law school, if you can part-time, do part-time work for an attorney's office, even if you can volunteer, anything that gets you in an actual law setting outside of the classroom is really, really beneficial. You're gonna learn so much more just logistically on how you need to proceed with things than just the knowledge, because the knowledge is only going to take you so far. So intern your summers. If you can handle the work during the school year, definitely do it, and make sure that your work experience is well-rounded. So I was fortunate enough to intern for a federal judge, and so that gave me one aspect. I helped write a lot of opinions for the judge, and I also clerked for a couple of two. One of them actually hired me on as an associate once I graduated and passed the bar. So not only did it help me become a better attorney once I got licensed, but it actually got me a job. I think one of the great things about being a lawyer is that law school really teaches you how to think. You inherit a skill set. And so with that skill set, you don't have to apply that just in the courtroom. You can apply it in different areas of life, whether that be business, whether that be politics, whether that be teaching, all those things that I mentioned. So don't think that if you go to law school and get a law degree that you have to practice. Another thing is that don't limit yourself to the areas of law that law school teaches you. Most law schools push core classes, the areas of law that are focused on your bar, because you need to pass the bar. Of course, you need to get a license in order to be an attorney, but there is so many more different areas of law that you can practice that are not going to be introduced to you at law school. Like, for example, I never took an employment law class. Employment law was not on the Texas State Bar when I took it. However, I worked for a small boutique employment law litigation firm, and we practiced in federal court on a class action level. I did tons of traveling. I worked with tons of clients all over the United States, and never in my mind when I entered law school did I ever think I would be an employment law attorney, but that's kind of what happened. So just know that there's so much more to being an attorney than being a lawyer, and there's so many more practice areas that you can venture into that are outside of your law school realm. So this next thing I think is directed more towards people who go to law school as a second career. I also had a lot of people in my law school class who I was very close to who went to law school as a second career and who had families. And so I just think it's really important that if you're in that situation, that you really, really prepare your family for the dedication and the discipline that law school takes, because it's a commitment. I mean, when you're going to law school, it's a huge financial investment. It's a huge investment in your time, your energy, your resources. And so everybody around you really is affected. So you have to, if you have a spouse, if you have children, if you haven't been to school in a really long time because we're a banker an investment banker for years and decided to go to law school, like you're in for a lot of time away from home. And just a lot of it's a personal investment that hopefully will pay off later. So just prepare your family, prepare your friends that you might be MIA for at least probably 3.5 years, because law school is 3 years, and then you need to practice for the bar and pass it, and hopefully you pass on the first time. So, you know, it's like that really is going to be your life. So just make sure that you take that into consideration, because it isn't a walk in the park. And last but not least, don't party too much. Definitely have fun in law school, definitely, because you need to. You need a way to de-stress. So de-stress however you want, but if partying is how you de-stress, just don't do it too much. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video.